Welcome to Inside the Cardinal Playbook, sponsored by the UPS store at 5510 Northeast Antioch in North Kansas City. We visit with Jill Kress and Larry Holly on this week's show. Coach, boy, that trip to Missouri, St. Louis, and to Maryville, a couple of really close games, a split. What's your thought after the weekend?
Actually, that the first game was such a heartbreaker for us.
I imagine we'll talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, but to come out with a split, I'll be honest with you, we were hoping for that. Obviously you want to win both of them, but if we figured when we were looking at everything, if we could get a split out of there, that still gets us in a pretty good position to get into playoffs. And
so now you've gotten that split. In 3 games remaining, what's the scenario?
Actually, I think we're going to make playoffs no matter what now.
Really? Okay.
The way we kind of looked at it, on the east side, they have McKendree that doesn't qualify. Sure. And then St. Joseph actually hasn't won a game in the conference, so that takes those 2 out of any wild card. And then if we can end up, we're Rockers, we say ahead of Rockers in Springfield, it should get us in no matter what. Okay. But I want to get in without having to wait for a wild card. I just want to be able to get in there. And right now we're in 5th, and still can. Drury's the big one for us when we go play them obviously next, and if we can win that game, even if we would end up tied with them, we would get the tiebreaker for the sweep. Well,
I tell you, that's going to be a tough place to play, but before we go there, let's talk a little bit about this weekend. UMSL, I guess that's where we should start, the end of the UMSL game. Chelsea Meeks hits a three-pointer, a tough three-pointer, and that was a shot of the year for most people, but then UMSL comes back and they hit the ridiculously long pass and the long shot to beat you. A lot of controversy, lots of things to talk about. Let's talk about Meeks first, though. What was she thinking as she came up court?
Well, she thought we were down 3. And, we missed a layup with 11 seconds left. We were down 2, and so we ended up fouling with 9 seconds. They missed both their free throws. I didn't have any more timeouts, and Chelsea, if you go back through her history of being here, even as a freshman, she came down and hit a game winner for us, and she's such a competitor and got the ball in her hands. And when you're watching video, she gets past the 3-point, and then I think she just thought she was we needed a 3. She just stepped back, had a defender on her, and she just put the ball in one hand, just threw it up, and really lucky that the ball went in. And that was a pretty exciting time because I didn't think we had a chance, and the players were all excited. And 0.6 seconds left, you kind of think you're going to win the ball game. Right. And UMSL did a great job.
Well, they called timeout at that point.
Yeah, they did.
What were you saying to your girls in the huddle?
I was telling them to keep everybody in front. Originally, we were going to put somebody on the ball, and then I decided not to because I really thought the only way they could win is if we fouled or if we got some kind of foul call. So told the players to keep everybody in front, to switch screens, and took Rose off the ball. And by doing that, they got a pretty good look around the court. And one of the kids broke loose. There were a lot of things that went well for them. They did a great pass, and the kid caught it on the run, right where she needed to, and was able to catch and shoot. And after the game, I had a couple people tell me that she dribbled, and then I asked some people on our staff, and they're like, "Oh yeah." And so then I, started thinking about it. I'm like, "Well, she had to dribble."
You texted your radio announcer that she dribbled also, so I went with that.
Oh yeah. So it's kind of like when you see a crime and everybody can describe somebody differently. That's kind of what happened. Everybody that wanted to win the ball game knew that she dribbled, and so I made a big deal about it. And I appreciate our athletic director handled it well and called the people that we needed to. So we were going to protest the game, and I didn't sleep very well that night and got a phone call at 7:30 by my sister and told me that we were on national TV on ESPN and Sports Center. And so
was that the first time you'd seen video of the
shot? And I hadn't seen it yet. I just texted our assistant coach and said that we were on ESPN. So he got up and watched it, pulled it up on the computer and watched it, and he texted me back and he's like, she didn't dribble. So anyway, she did, obviously they did a great job getting the ball down the floor and made the shot, and it was obviously very, very disappointing. And
Jill, that's a once-in-a-lifetime deal. We may never see anything like that again.
And I can tell you, I always keep somebody on the ball, and I don't know if that would have made a difference at all, but it's just disappointing to lose that way. But quite honestly, the way I told our players that we turned the ball over 21 times. We gave up 21 offensive boards, and we were really lucky with Chelsea to throw in that shot to even get to that spot. So there were a lot of things we could have done. You just remember that last 0.6 seconds.
How did your women's team handle that? How did they take it through the next few hours?
They kind of get over things. They, they're an extremely competitive group. I mean, I think you realize there's nothing you can do. it's over. Learn from it. I know as a coach I learned from it that you can get a shot off in 0.6 seconds, and I think our players did that and really looked at the next game as one that we needed to win. And but it's a great group, but they don't dwell on it a whole lot. At least externally you can't tell, but internally I think they're pretty competitive and they bounced back and did a nice job.
Walk into the gym against Maryville on Saturday, and one of the first things we saw was Abby Dittman, their very fine post player, was injured, not going to play. Did that affect the way that you attacked Maryville on Saturday?
No, it did, and I'll be honest with you. I told Coach Broughton after the game, one of the things I hate to do is play a team that just lost their best player. I don't like to be the next game, and I know that from our own experience when our players, when we've had some key players go out with ACL injuries in the past, and usually that next game your team's pretty inspired, and so that was when I knew she was out. I mean, I thought it would help us a little bit, but I also knew that team would come out and really, and they had some big kids step up big. They had number 40 hit some threes on us, and it was a battle for us, but it was a great win. They're a very, very good team. They're not a one-person team, but for us to be able to play through that, and again, they made a run and they had a chance to send that in overtime, and fortunately that game it rimmed out.
Deja vu.
It felt like it. It did feel like it.
There were so many similarities, I thought, between the two games. You got off to a great start in both of the games, built a lead, only to have the home team come back and, as you said, make a run at you. But, I don't know, you led by, I think, 16 points with 9 minutes or so remaining against Maryville. They come back. They challenge you at the end with the three-pointer. So there were a lot of similarities, with the exception of that final outcome.
Yeah. I think if you look at our team, we do go through some dry spells, offensively. But I really think there at the end, sometimes you get in a place where you're playing just to hang on, playing not to lose. And it sounds silly, but and that's what I told our players in one of the timeouts. I'm like, you got to quit playing not to lose. You need to play to win. Because we were really attacking the basket, doing some nice things, and then they started making a run, and it looked like we just really tightened up both offensively and defensively. And I think you get yourself in trouble when you try to hang on to a win instead of just keep playing and playing to win the game.
Maryville was so good at home, they had gone 10-1 to that point at home. And, of course, Dittman being out was a big deal, but you held Shelby Miller, I think, without a three-point field goal, and she had been 15 for 20 in the previous two games from behind the arc. Didn't hit anything, hit a couple of two-pointers, but that was it. Yeah,
actually, we put Ariel Smith on her, and I thought Ariel did a great job. But also in our press, we always line up who we want guarding people, but when we press the way we do, we end up with different people on them. And I thought our team as a whole did a great job of identifying where she was and not helping off. And she's a great player and a great shooter. And I think if she would have got hot, that just kind of builds confidence with her. And I thought our players did a great job adjusting to where she was and talking through that on defense.
Any chance that we'll host a first-round game in the GLVC, or is it going to be a road trip for us?
It's probably going to be a road trip for us. I mean, I think we'd have to win all 3 games, and then we'll have some people lose for us to get there. But, quite honestly, we play pretty well on the road, so I'm okay with that as long as it's not a really long drive. But it could be, and it'll be fun. It's again, a really fun group to be around and a fun group to coach.
That's head coach Jill Kress on Inside the Cardinal Playbook. We're back with Larry Holly in a moment.
What's my motto? Play to win. What's the key? Logistics. It takes planning. Everybody on the same page. Check this out. This is my playbook. Serious business. Right player, right place, right time. Did it at the UPS store. Bam! High five. Color, pictures, charts, graphics. Nice, huh? I love logistics.
It says in the book we should play as a team.
Professional color printing. Now at the UPS store.
My name is Jesse Limeculer, CEO of Belvoir Winery. We provide a unique experience in that it's a historic building. We allow people to bring in their own caterers to have a nice formal sit-down meal or something that's social and very casual. We have a lot of the original door frames, the doors themselves, the windows, some of the original windows with the wavy glass are still in here. The wood floor, the tile floor entry is original as well, which is actually directly into the concrete. Belvoir Winery, under 10 years in the making.
Inside the Cardinal Playbook resumes. It's Larry Holly joining us here after the weekend split at UMSL and at Maryville. The win at UMSL by 5 points, and a last-second shot that didn't quite go against Maryville. You happy with the split on the road?
Well, you're always happy to win on the road, and then you get a little bit greedy if you win on Thursday. And if you lose on Thursday, you're just hoping for a split. But disappointed that we didn't pull it off Saturday against Maryville, but give them credit. You know, they've won 21 games. I think ties them for the most wins in school history. And they're a good team, but it was certainly a winnable game. But, you know, UMSL could say the same thing about Thursday night. So probably fortunate to get a split, but again, disappointed in the loss at Maryville.
80-75, the win by the Cardinals at UMSL against, I think, a very physical team that plays very hard. That's probably true with most GLVC teams, but what was the key to that game in your mind?
Well, we got the ball to Dylan Deck where he could operate, and he had a great game, had 29 points,
which I think is a career high for him.
Which I think is a career high. I think he was 10 out of 14. He finished plays, but we did a nice job of passing the ball to him in the interior. But we had a lot of people, you know, had a nice game against them. I thought Devontae Bell, who again who's moved from the 2 to the 1 with the absence of Dwight, did a really nice job. Andrew Strofield hit some big free throws late. Just had a number of people who did a nice job. Craig Matson had a nice game. I don't have the stats in front of me, and I'm going to miss some people. Nate Croker came off the bench, and well, he doesn't score a lot of points. My memory is he had 6 defensive rebounds and had some steals and played 20 minutes and did a really nice job. And but everybody that came off the bench on that particular night did a great job for us.
My memory of Nate was him chasing, I think in your zone, but he was chasing a guy on one possession. Then he picked up another guy, chased him the other way, and he was just very solid that night.
Well, they were running a weave, and he got caught guarding a 3-man, and if you're the middle guy, we switch that a lot of times. We don't always do it, but we were switching handoffs. Well, if you're the middle guy and you hand off, now you're guarding the guy with the ball, hand off, now you're guarding him again. So you end up playing defense the entire possession if they're in a 3-man weave and you're the middle guy, if you're switching that. And he did a very effective job of it.
I want to get back to Dylan in just a second, but Andrew Schofield, here's a guy that's now in the starting lineup for you. He has hit some very early shots in both halves consistently through the first few games he started, but came down to those free throws at the end. And I told you the story that on the broadcast I looked down, saw he's shooting 60% from the line, but I can't think of a better 60% shooter I'd want there in a critical situation.
Certainly made 2 big free throws. I remember turning to Ricky Tisdale and John Taylor on the bench right before they handed him the ball. I said, has he ever missed shots like this at Motlow? Because all those guys played together at Motlow State Community College. And they both said no. And he made them both, and after the game I asked Andrew, he said, yeah, I've missed them before. But those were 2 huge free throws, and then of course he shot it extremely well at Maryville on Saturday. But yeah, we don't win that game. It just kind of put it out of reach. It was the icing on the cake, and the last second shot wasn't going to tie it in that situation.
What are Andrew's strengths as a player?
Well, he's athletic, he's strong, he's confident. You know, we've been playing him at the 3, and he's really a 2, but we've kind of done that out of necessity and because we've had a number of guys who could play at the 2 and trying to find him some playing time. And, you know, he's versatile in that he can play either wing position. He's a little undersized for a 3, but a lot of teams in our league play 3 guards, which plays into what he does well.
Dylan Deck, 29 points as you mentioned. What made the difference for him that night?
Well, he was able to finish plays, but we got him the ball where he could finish. You know, Dylan, you should never probably compare players, but Nick Larson was an exceptional passer. Dylan was never asked to do that in high school and hasn't been asked to do that here, and that's not a strength of his. The key for him is catching the ball in a position where he's got 1 dribble or none and can turn and score. Yep. And a couple of our offenses are designed so that when he does catch it, there's no one directly between him and the basket if we can get the ball to him. And we were just effective in getting the ball to him, and he was effective in catching the ball where he didn't have to have more than 1 dribble to go get a shot. So it was one of those, and we needed that. We needed every point he had, and he's certainly capable. He's not, you know, he weighs about 220, 225, and he gets pushed around a lot. He's one of the taller players in the league, but he's not a physical player, and he was able to hold his ground, find his spot, and complete the plays.
Cardinals win at 80-75 and then move on to Maryville Saturday. They were the team number 2 in the league. You came out and gave them quite a fight, and it did come down to a final shot, but lots of things led up to that final Craig Mattson shot, including a call down at the end where a ball looked like it glanced off Dylan's hand. Then even the Maryville people said it looked like it glanced off their defenders. How do you handle a situation in which there's clearly a blown call?
Well, you've got to recover from that. You know, officials are going to miss calls. I don't think they did it on purpose. They missed that call. But you've got to recover and make plays. And we didn't exactly get done at the end what we wanted to get done. Craig had an off-balance shot. Had he been on balance, maybe it goes in and we go to overtime. But
let's set the scenario for us, because you had to go the length of the court there and didn't have much time.
Well, we have a play we call runner, and we've worked on it in practice, but we've not worked on it with Andrew Schofield making the first catch. And he thought that Devontae was covered. The idea is to get the ball to our point guard, and he goes full speed, and we look for our shooters, or he takes a shot. And we didn't get the ball to him. It went to another player, Cyril, and Cyril ends up getting it to Craig off-balanced, and it wasn't as effective. It wasn't the way you draw it up. But, you know, you've still got to make plays, and give credit to Maryville for maybe knowing the play and keeping us from getting the ball in Devontae's hands. But it was disappointing because, you know, we had I think a 7-point lead at the half. We shot it extremely well in the first half and had a chance. And we've had a number of games like that, and a couple times we've closed the deal, a couple times we haven't. And until we become consistent at the end of games, we're probably going to be like that. We're about a 500 team. We're one game below 500 overall and one game below 500 in the GLVC. And we've had 4 or 5 games that if we make plays in that situation, our record's more like the women's record, at least overall.
You play at Maryville, and again, a very close game, but what stands out for you in your mind as far as people who played well?
Well, Andrew Schofield, especially in the first half. I think Andrew, for the game, again, I don't have the stats in front of me. I want to say he was 5 out of 6 overall, right, and 4 out of 5, and, you know, from 3, and did some good things. They did an effective job of keeping the ball out of Dylan's hands. We only had 2 people in double figures, and one was Andrew Schofield, one was Cyril Belong. And Cyril came off the bench, made some huge plays for us, and ended up with 10 points. I think Dylan maybe had 9 points and 9 rebounds. Yeah. But again, Saturdays are tough. And give the women credit. They came back from a tough loss Thursday and won on Saturday. But I still think that's the toughest thing in the GOVC is to play on the road on Saturday after having played on the road on Thursday. And give them credit. And we had a chance. We just didn't close the deal.
How do the playoffs look right now for you? 3 games remaining in the season, 2 of them on the road, including the one against Drury, #1 in the West. What does it look like right now?
Well, we haven't assured ourselves of anything. We've kind of played our way out of a top 8 seed, so I don't think we're going to have a home game. I think we're going to be somewhere. I think after the UMSL game, we were in 9th place, and it was possible to maybe get to 8. But then losing to Maryville, you know, that puts us a couple games behind. So. We're just hopeful of being in the top 12. You know, again, I mentioned Quincy and Illinois Springfield and St. Joseph's and us. 3 of us will make the playoffs. 1 will not. And we're hoping the one that doesn't isn't us. We just got to go take care of business, and certainly we're playing the best team probably in the league on either side this Thursday in Drury. So it'll be a battle, but we do finish up with a home game Saturday against S&T, a team that we beat on the road. And then against Rockhurst there, a team that we beat here. But, you know, you got to show up every night and get it done. And if we don't get it done, our season might be done. Yeah. But hopefully we take care of business and we get a chance to go play somewhere on Sunday, March 3rd.
Larry Holly here on Inside the Cardinal Playbook. Thank you, Coach. And Larry will be joined by Jill Kress when we return in a minute on Inside the Cardinal Playbook.
So, I'm my own man. I can work from home. I can make meetings, I can make deadlines, I can make proposals, I can remember birthdays, I can entertain clients, I can pay for lunch. Yeah, I can do it 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 3:15, I can do anything. Done, on it, yes, taken care of. 50 2-sided bound color presentations by tomorrow, I can do that. How do I do that? I love logistics.
At Poor Boy Oil Company, we want to meet people interested in joining our family. Employment benefits include paid vacations, health care, life insurance, and 401k plans. If you are growth-oriented, flexible, focused on high quality, analytical, and have common sense, you have what it takes. you are interested in exploring a career opportunity with Poor Boy Oil Company, please take a moment to apply online at poorboyoil.com.
Inside the Cardinal Playbook resumes. This is Coach to Coach with Larry Holly and Jill Kress. And the question today for our illustrious panel, who are or who is your biggest influence in coaching? Coach Kress?
Probably my high school coach was probably my biggest influence on why I got into coaching. It was Harold Shepard, and he was a National High School Coach of the Year and in the Hall of Fame. And for me, that was such a great experience playing for him. He was somebody that always loved the underdog role, always wanted to go prove to people what we could do, and he started the program at my high school, and it was really well known, the girls basketball there, throughout the state, and he won a 6-girl championship and 5-girl championship, and somebody that I admire an awful lot, and fortunate enough that he came and was my assistant coach for 2 years, and that was probably one of my highlights in my coaching career.
Well, I was going to say, a lot of people probably wish for that. Did it work out okay? I mean, after 2 years, was it still kind of that great relationship as far as coaching?
Oh, it was really good. It was better than what I thought it was going to be, and there were a lot of people questioning if he could be an assistant coach because he never was, and he'll tell you, and he had so much success through high school as a head coach that those 2 years were probably his most fun that he's ever had, and it was a lot of fun, a great opportunity for me to coach with him and to learn from him also, and it was a really good experience. And probably the other one, I joke about him a lot, but for me to be able to coach along somebody like Coach Holly is I'm really fortunate. He's obviously very, very successful and just a great teacher. I'm not sure if I've been around somebody that's as good of a teacher of the game, and so I really, for me to be able to watch his practices and to watch his games and kind of look at what he does during the game and how I would do it has been, I would say those two people as far as coaching have been my two biggest influences.
I want to get back to that in just a second, but first, Larry, who has been your biggest influence in coaching?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm in a state of shock right now.
Yeah, I know.
That you would say that. But, thank you very much.
Take a deep breath and continue.
I'm going to owe you a lot of money later on, I think. Well, my first influence was my father. I mean, he coached. He was a school administrator and coach, and I was always in the gym with him and his players were my heroes, and that's what got me started. And then my high school coach, Tom McDaniel, was at that little school, Jameson, Missouri. There were 51 in the upper 4 grades when I was a senior, 10 in my graduating class. And, he was there 11 years and won over 260 games and never had more than 25 boys in the upper 4 grades. So I was fortunate I had great teammates and we had a lot of fun. Then I came here and played for a football guy who had great success here in basketball, Jim Nelson, 2-time All-American in football at Missouri Valley College, and came here as assistant football coach, head basketball coach, and had outstanding success and really enjoyed playing for him. Then I went to the University of Missouri to get my master's, and the 1 year I was there was Norm Stewart's first year as the head coach at the University of Missouri. So I got to watch his practices, so I'm sure I was influenced there. But then in terms of people that I admired and followed, I would say John Wooden at UCLA. That's an easy one for those of us that grew up in the 60s, because he had all that phenomenal success at UCLA. And then assistant coaches who have helped me tremendously, and the person that probably influenced me the most was Lee Carricker. Lee was our top assistant for 19 years. But I've been blessed to certainly be around people who I admired, who I learned from, and who greatly influenced my path in coaching.
Jill mentioned learning something from watching your teams play. I've seen you sit and watch the women's team play. Do you learn something when you watch, say, a women's game? Or?
Oh, I do. I do. It sounds like we're just patting each other on the back, but she's done a phenomenal job to move into NCAA, and she did a great job, obviously. 7 of the last 9 years, I think, at the NAIA level. It might have been 7 out of 8 to go to the national tournament and do well. But to come in first year and go 15-11, and this year they already have 14 wins, I think it's just phenomenal in the GLVC for NCAA Division II, and have won some big games. To go to Northwest Missouri State and beat them back-to-back years, and other huge wins. So really proud of what she's done, and I do. I like her style of play. I grew up on press and run and a lot of perimeter players and pretty good athletes on the floor, and that's what she likes to do. And candidly, I would probably like to do a little bit more of that, but certainly enjoy the women playing, and they're when they're on, they're really, really good and a lot of fun to watch, and they've been on an awful lot this year.
Jill, I watched you Thursday night at UMSL. You sat in the same place and were looking at the floor. I'm not so sure you saw any of that game, but typically you watch the men play, and the same question to you. What do you pick out of what they do?
Yeah, again, I think he is such a great teacher, and end of game situations, I think he does a phenomenal job. He, even with the Maryville game, got a shot off. When you call timeout and you need a 3, that's tough to do. I don't do that. I usually let my kids just go, but he does such a great job of drawing up and getting the kids, to their spots. Whether they make the, kids have to make the shots, but he gets them the shots, and I enjoy watching that. Also, he and I laugh about our practice plans. He is detailed on his practice plans, and they go through it. And I think I've become better at that because of him. I'm still not even close to that, but he's that's been a big help for me. Is just to see. He's a big fundamental guy, and I'm a big picture person. He does such a great job of the little things. It's just been really good for me as a coach to watch that and learn from that. And I think the friendship helps. That I can go ask him questions on why he did this, or why he didn't do something. And I don't think either one of us offend each other. We just kind of want to learn from that part of it on how to do something.
She offends me a lot.
Well, not in basketball. I do probably outside of that.
That's Jill Kress and Larry Hawley, coach to coach, and we have a final word coming up in a moment.
This is corporate headquarters. As you can see, I have a unique business. How do I compete with the big boys? Got this fancy business address, a marketing department, distribution center, got a great team, even a cafeteria.
That's mine.
From packing and shipping to printing and mailbox services, come into the UPS store for everything a small business needs.
I love logistics.
Sometimes happy marriages fall apart, and divorce is the only way out. At a time like this, you need an attorney who will listen to you and will work for you. I'm Stephanie Shutt, and I understand that divorce can be hard for anyone, and I know the importance of a fair settlement. The decisions that are made now will affect the future happiness and well-being of you and your family. At Costello and Farah, we will fight for you. Call or visit 505-HELP and let me help you.
And that's Inside the Cardinal Playbook for this week. We thank coaches Hawley and Kress for coming on, and we'll be back next week with more Inside the Cardinal Playbook following the Drury and Missouri S&T games. Remember, our sponsor is the UPS store at 5510 Northeast Antioch in North Kansas City.